they're heading in an easterly direction. So when Singbei and the others see the rising sun in the east, they feel very confident, or maybe, that they're heading back home to Africa. So they continue on this way during the day, and at night, they turn the boat back around. And so it goes, back and forth, day and night. And thank goodness, in a way, I know it sounds strange, but if Montez Ruiz hadn't done that, they hadn't tricked him, everybody would be dead. There's no way you're going to make that transatlantic voyage without the necessary provisions. They didn't have enough food and water to go across the Atlantic Ocean. They never would have made it. Also, the long, low black schooner, as it was described, is long and low. And I'm not sure how good it was or able it was to go across the Atlantic Ocean in the condition it was in. I don't know. But in any case, they go back and forth. Meanwhile, the currents and the winds are pushing up the east coast of the United States, past the southern states, past D.C., on Delaware. I got to get my geography going here. On up towards to Long Island, New York. And in Long Island, New York, at Culloden Point, they anchor and they Singbei and some others get into the small boat and they row to shore and they see some people and they're negotiating for food and water through what skills they have with charades. While they're doing it, enter the USS brig Washington, a Navy vessel that sees the Amistad and decides they need to inspect and find out what's going on. So the Amistad Africans see this, they get back in their small boat and they race back to the Amistad. They want to get out of there before they are boarded, but it's too late. The Navy rafts alongside, ties up to the Amistad and boards the Amistad, in a sense takes possession until they can figure out what's going on. But they can't ask the Amistad Africans what's going on because they don't speak Mende and they don't speak English. Montez Ruiz speaks Spanish and a little English. So they do tell their version of the story, which is lies and fake news. They produce fake documents too. Look, Singbei, no, his name is Cinque. Joseph Cinque. He was born in Cuba, legally, as a slave. I own him. He killed the captain and I want him back so I can punish him. This is the version of the Navy here. So they have no choice, so they believe, other than to arrest the Amistad Africans after they fought for their freedom and entered the United States as freedom fighters. They are arrested and detained and put back down below into the cargo hatch once again as detained persons. At this point, the boat is towed to New London, where it will sit for the remainder of the trials. The Amistad Africans are moved to a prison in New Haven, where they will live while awaiting trial and awaiting the outcome. So they do that. They go to New Haven, Connecticut, and they go to trial. But what's the one thing they can't do? They can't tell their story, right? They can't share their story. They can't contradict what Montez and Ruiz have been saying. And they know they're lying. So they need a translator. So one of the things they do, and this is in the movie, if you've seen the movie, they find a translator. And his name, they don't find a translator, they find Professor Gibbs from Yale University. He's going to help them find a translator. They take ads on the newspapers, they try everything. They can't find it. So Gibbs thinks of this great, clever idea. They show this in the film. They work it out so that the Amistad Africans can teach them to count 1 to 10 in Mende. And then they're going to take this, Josiah Gibbs is going to take his team, they're going to go to New Haven docks, they're going to go to the wharves in New York, and they're going to shout. They're going to count to 10, 1 to 10 in Mende. Really loud. 99% of the people that walked by them thought they were crazy. 2 guys, 3 guys, shouting in Mende, counting 1 to 10. Kids, stay away from them. They're crazy. But one guy gets off the boat weeks later, gets off the boat, and he's walking by. He's got British naval uniform on. He looks African. That's because he is. He's from Mende land. And he walks by them and he says, "Hey, what are you guys doing? Why are you counting from 1 to 10 in Mende? That's kind of weird." And they said, "You speak English and Mende?" And he says, "Yes. I was formerly a farmer in Mende land. I was kidnapped, put on board a slave ship. The British rescued me. And after that, I decided to dedicate my life, or at least for now, work with the British Navy in return. So I speak English." And so they released him because as someone who spoke English and Mende, he was very valuable in the case. So the English Navy releases him, and he goes and acts as interpreter for the Amistad. It's a turning point, right? And they can now testify. They can testify and tell their story. And here's one of the parts of the movie I don't like. You guys all know who Matthew McConaughey is? Good, strapping young, good-looking guy. He plays the part of the attorney. So you can picture this scene, right? Singbei is in prison, waiting to tell a story. He's been waiting for months to tell a story. And he's feeling dejected, his head's down. And I imagine they probably got that right? He's just sitting like this. And in walks Baldwin, his attorney, played by Matthew McConaughey. Matthew McConaughey went, Singbei, guess who I've got? I've got James Covey. James Covey, show him what you can do. And James Covey explains that he can speak Mende and English and therefore tell his side of the story. In the movie, I don't know why Steven Spielberg decided to do this. In the movie, he decides to have Singbei say, it's too hard. I can't do it. Basically. And Matthew McConaughey, the lawyer, has to say, Singbei, you got this, man. You can do it. You got this. You're the lion. As if Singbei, this man who has been through hell and back, needs any coaching from his white lawyer. As if. But they threw that in the movie, I don't know why. In reality, Singbei needed no help or advice from his attorney on this matter, and would have right away began to share with this translator everything he knew and had been wanting to tell. It's a turning point in the court system because now the judges in the lower courts and district courts can hear their side of the story, and they see that the testimony matches with the evidence. It makes sense. It's starting to come together. They are let off. The judge decides he finds them innocent of murder, of the crimes of murder, and can be released. But the federal government, the Van Buren administration, appeals the case, and they find themselves right back in court. Now they have to face the Supreme Court. Many of those justices, by the way, were or formerly were slave owners themselves. Since 1839, there's still slavery in the United States. So now they're worried. They've got Baldwin, who's a really good attorney. Again, played by Matthew McConaughey. But they also get another lawyer, somebody who's got experience with justices and that level of government. And that's John Quincy Adams, former president of the United States. He's going to be their attorney. That would be like getting President Obama to be your attorney, right? That would be good news. He's a very eloquent speaker, and he gives a really long, verbal talk. That was my legal terminology there. To the justices,
Defense.
and they hear his story, they see the evidence, and they also decide in favor of the Amistad Africans. They free the Amistad Africans in what would have been a very joyous time. In the movie, they show Singbei there hugging John Quincy Adams. Of course, in real life, Singbei PA, as a black man, would not have been allowed in the Supreme Court. More problems with the movie. However, word eventually got out that they were to be free. Now all they have to do is fundraise, they have to get some money. Once they earn enough money, save it up enough, being guest lecturers, right, speakers at public places, they can collect money, charter a vessel, and have them take them back to Sierra Leone, to Freetown. So they do that. They work with the missionaries and the fundraisers, and they earn enough money to do this. They make their way back to Sierra Leone as one cohesive group. And some died, right, in the insurrection. Some died in jail. Some died of disease. 37 survived the ordeal over those couple of years. And in 1842, those 37, as a group, returned back to Sierra Leone. Some are reunited with their families. Others, like Singbei, are not. He was a dad who never saw his kids again, and he was a husband who never saw his wife again. So it's a very sad story for a lot of people. Now, what I want to leave you with, too, is, two things. Number one, you just got to give kudos to Matthew McConaughey. Number two, if you view the movie again, go ahead and find some critiques of the films. It's well worth it. But I, as an educator, what I want to know is the film good? Spielberg achieved what he wanted to do, which was to show blacks and whites working together for social justice, right? Because we've come such a long way, right? We practically don't even need to tell the story, right? We've come so far. So out comes Spielberg's movie, Amistad. And what I did was I went into a New Haven school, and they had watched the film, and I said, as a warm-up activity, let's go through, and I'd like you to recall all the people that were in the movie, like who was featured, what was the character's name and their role. Tell me a character and a role. They couldn't just say, oh, that guy that he was riding a horse. That guy, that didn't count. He had to give me a name or a specific role. They were able to recall 13 people in the couple of minutes I gave. 13 people. What I didn't tell them was I divided them up into black and white on my piece of paper. And at the end of the class, I said, did he do a fair job? And they were all, oh, yeah, blacks and whites together, fighting for the same cause. And I said, okay, well, how many people did you guys remember? You remembered 13. How many were black and how many were white? They remembered 11 white characters and roles and 2 black. Of the 2 black characters, one was the Morgan Freeman character who was completely made up. Which meant they could only remember Sing Bei Pie. Which tells me that the film didn't do its job. They took the Amistad Africans and treated them as a group rather than as individual human beings. But the others got their individual human roles. And so here we are again, same kinds of things, and we're having the same discussion because we can't seem to get it right. So one of the things we want to do with Amistad is use this boat to visit different ports, to have students come on board and have this conversation. And finally, what we want to ask you, because teachers, well, let me go this way. I remember going home for Thanksgiving, right after the election of Donald Trump, and the news media was like, oh my God, people, be careful, whatever you do, don't go home and talk politics. My God, you'll never get through Thanksgiving dinner. And I remember thinking, the media is telling us we can't talk? Are you kidding me? Are we that bad? So because I don't stay in the classroom, right? I can say whatever I want to the kids, and I get on a sailboat and I leave. So I don't have to hear the parent complaints. I can have an honest discussion without fear of people getting angry at me for wanting to have a truthful conversation. So I ask the kids, do you see any of this today? Do you hear language that reminds you of this story? Or are we done? Have we moved on and we don't need to talk about it anymore? And I'll say, they dehumanize Sing Bei and others. Do you see any of that today? And we'll look at the newspaper articles. MS-13 are animals. Animals. Interesting. I'm not defending MS-13 gang members, but I find it interesting that they're being referred to as animals. So my question is, are some of these themes, are some of these things we need to still talk about? What else is out there? The separation of families, right? Sing Bei was separated from his family. What did that mean when he went back home? What did it mean for the separated families here in the United States? Are there policies today where families are separated? And if so, why are we still doing that when we know that's wrong? These are important questions we need to ask ourselves. So we use the Amistad today to have these discussions. Thank you guys very, very much for our talk. And stick around if you have any questions, please.
How many kids made it back? How many of the children from the 4 kids?
So they all went back as a group, all 37, all 4 kids, including all 4 children. One of them really connected with the missionaries and their cause and wanted to be a part of this new relationship, right, between people in the United States and in Sierra Leone. And so she came back to the United States and went to Oberlin College and graduated and continued her work as a missionary. So there were ongoing relationships that were formed after they returned. It's kind of neat. Yeah, so feel free to roll. Yeah, oh, sir, go ahead. Yeah.
Was there a reason they had a smaller, or is it actually my perception?
No.
Is there a reason they had a smaller target?
I tell my students this. Think of it as a moving van. There's all different shapes and sizes of moving, right? 18-wheelers to go across the country, smaller vans if you're going from one side of the city to the other. Well, a cargo ship's no different. You can have a huge one that's going to go across the ocean with huge amounts of goods, like the China trade, right? The China spice tea and spice trade. Or you might have a smaller cargo vessel that was better for going in and out and around islands. That was a coastal schooner like the Amistad. Yeah. So all different shapes and sizes of cargo vessels. Well, cool. Again, Today. Yeah. I will help maintain the ship if it's not hard work. But I'm an educator, so I like to teach. But we have a crew, a very capable crew. We've hired riggers. Riggers are the ones in charge with going up. We've We've got other crew that are sort of bring different skills, and so some of them, like with Slush, our own masts, we make a lot of our own light repairs. Our captain is also a very good engineer, so if there's